They say home is where you feel safe. But what if the place you call home is stolen? Not by strangers, but by someone claiming to enforce the rules. I thought I knew my neighborhood. I thought I knew the people in it. But when I came back early from a long trip, suitcase still in hand, I found lights on in my house and voices inside. The HOA president had taken more than authority. She'd taken my home. This is the story of how one woman's obsession turned into trespass, control, and betrayal. And how far would you go if your own home was taken from you? Willowbrook Estates was supposed to be peaceful, gated, quiet, with manicured lawns and neighbors who waved but never pried. That's why I bought a house here, a place where I could work, travel, and know things were safe when I left. For years, that's exactly what it was. My life was predictable in the best way. I traveled for work, came home to the same tree-lined streets, and parked my old Jeep by the curb. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. My sanctuary. Then came Bethany Kensington Wright, the new HOA president. The kind of person who smiled for the newsletter photos, but narrowed her eyes at every little thing. She called my Jeep an eyesore. Said it brought down the property values. I laughed it off. Surely no one cared that much. But then neighbors started warning me. She had sent letters about mailbox colors, threatened fines over non-regulation flower beds. It was petty, but relentless. And when I left for a 2-week trip, I had no idea she was already planning her boldest move yet, because when I came back, suitcase in hand, nothing looked the same. My house wasn't mine anymore. And that's when the real nightmare began. The first sign was subtle. My front gate latch, clipped and hanging loose. Then as I walked up the driveway, I noticed curtains pulled back in the living room. Someone was inside. I pushed the door open and there she was, Bethany standing in my foyer like she owned it. Her arms folded, chin high. Behind her, 2 HOA board members shuffled awkwardly, pretending not to notice my shock. According to HOA policy, Bethany declared, your property was left unattended. That makes it subject to review. We've taken temporary custody. Custody. She said it like my home was a stray dog. At first, I thought it was some twisted joke. But when I went to grab my mail, I found notice after notice stuffed into the box. Unattended vehicle. Failure to maintain lawn. Unauthorized storage. Each one stacked with fines. Then came the threats. Tow trucks circling my Jeep, notices taped to my door demanding thousands. And worse, the locks changed. I had to call a locksmith just to get inside my own home. Neighbors whispered about it, but no one stepped up. Everyone was afraid of her. Bethany wasn't just enforcing rules, she was weaponizing them, and she wanted me out. I tried to reason with her, to remind her I'd paid every due, followed every rule. That mattered. But she just smiled, the kind of smile that told me this wasn't about rules at all. It was about control. The more I resisted, the harder she pushed. Late-night calls from anonymous numbers, fines doubling every week. One morning, I woke to find a bright red sticker slapped across my Jeep. Vehicle scheduled for removal. That was the breaking point. I set up cameras, documented every visit, every threat, and when Bethany showed up with a tow truck and bolt cutters, I hit record. Watching her slice through the lock on my own gate, barking orders like a general, it was all the proof I needed. But proof doesn't mean peace, because Bethany wasn't backing down. She was escalating. And I knew the next move she made could cost me everything. The HOA meeting was standing room only. Neighbors packed into folding chairs, murmuring as I walked in with a folder thick with evidence. Bethany sat at the head of the table, gavel in hand, flanked by her board. Her expression was smug, like she'd already decided the verdict. When my turn came, I stood tall and spread the photos across the table. Bethany cutting my lock, the tow truck idling in front of my Jeep, the notices stamped with inflated fines. Gasps rippled through the room. Bethany leaned forward, lips curling. You abandoned your property. The HOA has the right to act in the community's best interest. I slammed the folder shut. This isn't about the community. This is about you. The room went silent. Her voice rose, sharp enough to cut glass. If you can't follow the rules, maybe you shouldn't live here at all. That was it. The mask dropped. Everyone saw it. The gasps turned into whispers, then into outright anger. Neighbors shifted in their seats, eyes wide. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just my battle. It was every homeowner's nightmare. Being bullied, cornered, stripped of their rights. And Bethany had finally shown everyone who she really was. When the federal SUVs rolled into Willowbrook Estates, their black paint gleaming under the morning sun, the neighborhood froze. Curtains twitched. Sprinklers kept spinning, oblivious as families huddled by their windows. This wasn't an HOA violation anymore. This was a crime scene. Bethany stood in the middle of the cul-de-sac, bathrobe hanging open, screaming about her authority. But her voice cracked when the agents fanned out, badges flashing, their questions slicing sharper than any bolt cutter she'd ever held. Maya opened the door only when a female agent waved her over, promising safety. She stepped out shaking, clutching the video evidence like it was a lifeline. That footage, Bethany cutting the lock, bribing the tow driver, declaring she had legal authority, became the nail in the coffin. By the time the sun set, Bethany Kensington Wright wasn't just an HOA president anymore. She was a defendant, charged with attempted theft of federal property, unlawful entry, and obstruction. The empire she built on fear collapsed in a single day. As for me, I came home weeks later to find my Jeep untouched, parked exactly where I'd left it, now surrounded by respect instead of hostility. Neighbors I barely knew shook my hand, whispering that they'd been waiting for someone to stand up to her. They weren't angry at me anymore. They were relieved, because Bethany's downfall wasn't just my victory, it was theirs too, and yet something had shifted inside me. I realized that what nearly broke me wasn't her bolt cutters or fake fines. It was the quiet, suffocating way power had been abused. The way ordinary families had been conditioned to keep their heads down, too afraid to speak. Yes, Bethany lost her crown, but the system that allowed her to wear it, that's still alive in neighborhoods across the country. Every HOA boardroom, every gated cul-de-sac, every family who just wants peace but is forced to choose between silence and resistance. For me, this fight wasn't about a Jeep. It was about dignity, about knowing that no one, no matter how powerful they think they are, gets to strip you of your home, your peace, your name. The fines are gone. The threats have stopped. But when I drive through my neighborhood now, I don't just see houses and manicured lawns. I see the truth behind the flowers and friendly waves, a truth we all have to face. Because in the end, every homeowner will be forced to answer the same question. When someone tries to take what's yours, not just your property, but your peace of mind, will you obey or will you fight?